friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 159. This is Friday, June 13th, Friday the 13th, 2025. And I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where summer has already started. We're a week from the summer solstice, but it's been hot recently and quite muggy. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this video. Especially, I welcome you if you're new if you just discovered this channel. I hope that you'll find something interesting. And of course, thank you to my many returning viewers. It's great to interact with you in the comments and so forth. Flosstube means cross stitch, and there's some wacko. Wow. Oh, it's not wacko, I'm sorry. Last time there was a fire truck. Maybe I'll edit that out. Flosstube means cross stitch, and variety show means something else. And I predict this will be a shorter than usual video, just because it's been a crazy week and I don't have tons of anything to talk about today. It never seems to really slow me down, but let me just move my chair closer and we can get started with Flosstube with cross stitch. I usually show you lately, I've been showing you under the roof of blue Ionian weather, but a sign of how non-stitchy oriented this week has been is that I only did about 300 stitches this week, and I'm not going to show you because you can't tell where it is. But I think I did definitely pass the 10,000 stitch mark. I think I'm in around 9,700 or something. So that's good. Hannah Green, 1826, is the 2024 Queen of the May by Hands Across the Sea. And as you know, if you've been watching me for a while, I am leading a stitch along for this. And last week's video, I laid out my new plan, which you will also find in the description field of this video, because the way it was set up, it wasn't going to work. But I have been moving forward on June. I did a little more of that top border there, and I started the vase of flowers right there in the center. So for June, I still have this vase of flowers to finish, a tiny bit more of the border, and then the second line of over one text. And in the modified plan, to get a chunk of this section down here in the full coverage stitching of the lawn and animal area, to get a chunk of that done. So that's great. I just love the colors of this. It's splendid, just splendid. And it's fun to stitch. The bases here under these bases under the vases are rice stitch, which I also give in my show notes underneath the description field a link to a couple places to get instructions on how to do the rice stitch, because uncharacteristically the chart doesn't include any instructions. Oh well. I will next show you, I had wanted this to be a June featured piece. It hasn't gotten much attention, but goodness. This is Jane Thompson, 1838, and charted by the Scarlet House, as you see. It's listed as an adaptation. I don't know what the original antique looks like, but I'm doing this on 36 count Sleeping Bear with NPI silks. So here's the whole thing. And I've been working down in this corner. I had already done the bird and that little branch. So the upper bird, the parrotish bird. So now I did the little black bird and this vase of flowers down there. So next to come will be to finish this vase of flowers and then this little black dog. And then I'm going to start on the house. Yes, there's stuff up here, but this can wait. I really feel a certain urgency to get started on the house because it's a pretty big amount of stitching there. And that's pretty symmetrical over here. It's not exactly symmetrical, I don't think, but it might be now that I look at it. So anyway, this is where I am. Next, maybe you'll see the house. And I do hope to be continuing to work on this month, though I'm beginning to panic about the Mrs. Parkman's Academy of Needlework in Swindon in October. I know October seems like it's a long ways away, but it isn't. It is not very far away. So that's been fun. For the first time since I started on this little project, which is Jane Boyer 1831, there was a day that I didn't actually touch it. Other than that, I've been working on it every day from May 20th until the present, and I'm almost finished. So in terms of the sampler as it exists, what I have left is to finish out this lowercase alphabet right there. It goes all the way to the end. And then to put her name and the place at the bottom. Now that means that this line has some space on it, and toward the end of the bottom there's a little bit of space. And my plan is to put some little motifs in there. And I've mentioned before, I've tried to select some motifs that are things that Jane might have stitched herself because they were part of her life experience. And a 7-year-old probably isn't going to stitch abstract things. She's going to stitch things that are pretty concrete that she sees every day. But it's very nice, isn't it? Now it's interesting, and I really should have written an email to Leslie before mentioning this, but I am not aligned on the colors compared to the antique. But we've said from the beginning that this is an adaptation, so it's fine. So my next steps on that would be to finish the stitching and to put the motifs in that I have chosen, that I've charted. And then what I want to do is to chart a few others that will also fit so that people can make a choice for themselves. And then I will write some prose that will go in the booklet for this so that it can be published and made available at the Leroy Historical Society. This is 40 count vintage Country Mocha. I'm doing this 1/2 with DMC. 6 colors of DMC is how it's charted. I'm also going to suggest a few colorway changes to make, if people would prefer it to be different, look a little different than this. Now, I said last time about the ghosting letters, which is, in this picture, it isn't that bad at all. You can see it. In person, well, I can see it in person too, so never mind, it's fine. It certainly is typical of antique sampler reproductions that there are ghosting letters. And since we can see the back of this little piece, that's how it was. So the thread choices that she made would have blended in with the fabric that she had available when she was looking at this, when she was stitching it herself. I mean, not blended in totally, maybe not as much as those colors do, but nonetheless, that's just how it was for her as well. I think I've mentioned before that one of my questions about reproduction samplers, a question I think that we stitchers have to answer for ourselves, is when we consider making a reproduction, stitching a copy of a sampler that was stitched in the 19th century, do we want to make a sampler that looks like the antique so that we can put on our wall something that looks like it was hanging on somebody's wall for 200 years? Or do we want to make something that looks like the stitcher saw it when she finished it? And the Jesse Calanor, I think is the name of the sampler that Hands Across the Sea released this spring. It's an exclusive from the Attic Needlework. And that one they reproduced with two colorways. One is the colors from the back of the sampler, which are bright and vibrant. And the other version is the colors from the front of the sampler, which are more faded. And the stitcher can choose. It's the same chart. You just choose this set of color, mapping to the symbols or this other set. And it's been interesting on Instagram and people's Flosstubes to see their choices. I think I would probably choose the brighter set, the one that seems to match what the original stitcher saw, what Jessie saw as she stitched it herself. But it's different philosophies and different desire for what the aesthetics of your own decor in your house should be. So I think it's extremely valid to have it either way. This one, because we have the front and the back both available to us, and the fabric is quite stained and damaged, it's hard to tell what it might originally have looked like, other than the fact that the back looks a lot like the front. So I don't mind at all this being what it is. I mean, not at all. In fact, it's all fine to me. I tend to trust the designer in terms of thread selection, which you should just learn they shouldn't trust me because I've made some mistakes in the color alignment, but because it's an adaptation, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a very worthy adaptation, I will say, of that sampler. So what else is going on? Well, the big news around here is that our deck is almost finished. I was going to say it's not finished. Well, it isn't technically, but it's almost finished, and I'll just stick a before and after picture in here. It's been surprisingly time-consuming, which sort of makes me understand why it's costing what it cost. And of course, the cost of materials is something. The whole thing was rebuilt from the ground. So every bolt, every fragment of wood is new. And I'm looking out the window because it's right there. That's where our deck is. It's so amazing how the railing disappears, and so we can see through it so much better. And when our little deer population and other wildlife come through the yard, we will be able to see them so much better. It's also going to be very nicely larger in terms of having more useful layout possibilities for entertaining or just sitting out there ourselves. So the parts that aren't finished is a railing on the stairs leading up to the deck is not finished. And there are some of the cables, those are wire cables that go between the posts, and those have to be anchored, and there weren't enough anchors supplied, so some more are on order. I think those are the main things. And so the next step on that is next Thursday, the crew is coming back. They will finish those parts of it. And then the inspection from the town of Chapel Hill will happen on Friday, and we will get a certificate of occupancy at that point, and then we'll order the grill. So that'll be good. Actually, we might wait a week or so to get the grill because we have a big week that particular week. We'll have company here. Our church is doing a day camp for a week for kids who are ages 5 years old through 6th grade, I think, something like that. And being provided by a ministry group called Pine Cove City, and they send teams of leaders, counselors, and other leaders to churches around the southeast or maybe around the country to do these camps. And we're going to be a host family. We're going to have 3 of the male leaders, male counselors staying with us, college-age boys staying with us that week. And we provide them with 2 suppers while they're here, and the camp serves the host family's supper on one of the nights also. So that's enough hubbub and enough sort of out of our normal routine here that I don't think we will try to get the grill that week. I think we'll wait until the following week, and maybe we'll have it by 4th of July, and maybe we'll have hamburgers or something. But we'll get a gas grill. It'll be fine. And the great thing is that the guys who are doing the work took away our old gas grill. They were happy to receive it as a gift. It works. It functions. It just was old and I didn't like it. So I was really happy that they took it away, because that meant Byron didn't have to figure out a way to get it gone. So that's good. So the other things going on are I've just been busy with my return to work, which I will continue to be busy with for the next month or so. And that's the main thing, I think. Excuse me. Next week is a busy one from work standpoint, a few things going on in the evenings. I have to finish the book club book. We are reading, I'm not going to remember the author, but it's called The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder. We're reading that, which is the first of a series. I love a series. That is to say, I love to read the first book in a series, because if it's good, then you know you have the pleasure to read the second book and the third book and so forth. The following week after that is when the Pine Cove City kids will be here. I have my doubts that I will do a lot of cross-stitch that week. So I will not, so we're sort of we're combining the preview with the random variety show. Very random today, isn't it? I'm so sorry. You should expect better of me, and I'll do better in the future. So plans. I will make a video a week from today. It will probably be another brief, crazy one. I will not make a video the 26th of June. Is that the Friday? 27th, maybe. I might make a video on the 4th of July, and I will make a video on the 11th of July. So that's sort of laying it out. So there will be one next week, definitely off 1 week, maybe off 2 weeks, definitely on again. That's the best I can predict. It's supposed to be Nativity Sal weekend. I am not sure whether I'll have anything that I'm going to work on that fits that description. I need to be thinking about, I'm still going to focus in June on Jane Thompson and see what I can accomplish there. But I need to be thinking about finishing up Jane Greenough for the event in England in October, and finishing sort of repairing the damage I did to Nancy Cook in trying to do hem stitching, which I messed up. So we'll see when I choose to do that. It's still sitting in its bag. I haven't really pulled it out recently. There's a small project by Ray Niles, which I need to do, which won't take very long. I can do it in a week. And I think those are the big things. So I did want to tell you about an organization called Loose Ends. And Loose Ends, I learned about maybe 3 years ago. It is an organization that is for needleworkers and craftspeople, and I'll say mainly quilt making, knitting, and crocheting, I think, is what I think probably it encompasses, who are willing to finish a project that someone who died had started in order to have that project completed for the family, the surviving family members. And I signed up for it. I heard about a story about it on NPR, I think probably 3 years ago, or maybe somebody sent me a link to a story about it. Anyway, it was very interesting to me. In our church, we've had some people die who were quilters, and I once was asked, I know you didn't know this woman very well, but would you be willing to finish her quilt? And I said, well, I'd be willing to consider it. And then another group of friends got together and did whatever they did with it. My friend Dean Kemble died about 4 years ago now, and her husband has been bringing me by her things, her quilting stuff and other craft supplies, and some of which are unfinished quilts. And I've thought, well, I might finish a couple of those, but they're not for his family. His family has already taken what they want. And so this is for me, and for me to decide to distribute however I choose. So it isn't quite the same thing, but it's something that has made me aware that this is a need out there, that there are people who are in the midst of making that special graduation gift for their granddaughter. And then when that person dies, the granddaughter has something unfinished that they might not even have the ability to finish themselves. Well, I just finally, for the first time, got contacted about a quilt just the other day. And right now I'm sort of mulling over whether I'm going to say yes to finishing it. The beauty of it is that the top is finished and the backing and batting are to size. In fact, it's set up and pinned in order so that it's ready to be hand quilted. So when the project came, when I was emailed about the potential of my working on this project, I said, well, I don't do hand quilting. I do machine quilting. And if this person is willing for it to be machine quilted, then I would say, yes, I'll do it. But if the person really wants it to be hand quilted, which is clearly what her mother had it set up to do, or maybe her grandmother, I think her mother, then I would have to decline. So they came back and the person is flexible, is willing to have it machine quilted. So I think I'm going to say yes. I think it will take about maybe an hour or so to separate the top batting and backing from each other because they're pinned now for hand quilting. And then it'll take about an hour probably to make sure that the backing is really suitable for loading onto the long arm machine, and I will do that and then load it, and then it will take maybe 2 hours to quilt. I don't actually know how big it is, so it might take 2 or 3 or 4 hours to do the quilting. And I also need to find out if she wants me to bind it as well, or whether she knows how to bind it. I'm going to guess that she doesn't. That's going to be my guess, and I'm willing to bind it as well. So that'll be something. Perhaps you'll see that in a galloping horse video if we ever get around to making another one. So anyway, that is something. But this organization, Loose Threads, I know from seeing other posts about it on Facebook and other places that they do knitting and crochet projects also for people. And so it's a variety of things. I don't know if you'd be interested in that. I'll put the contact information or the information about the organization in the description field beneath this video. And it may be that you yourself are not interested, but you know somebody who is, or perhaps your guild, if you're part of a quilting guild or even a cross-stitch guild, you might know of somebody. It's possible that a cross-stitch project would come along to be finished, though that is a much more major undertaking than finishing a quilt, I think, in terms of the amount of investment of time it would involve. So, I don't know. I'll keep you posted on what happens with that. A couple of you will remember that, was it just last weekend? 2 weekends ago was the Sudoku Grand Prix, the round 6 weekend. I did very poorly. So, and my son didn't compete at all, interestingly. So I'm not sure what was going on for him that weekend, but he didn't. The upcoming weekend, I think, is the weekend of June 30th and July 1st, is that weekend and the couple days following. So that'll be coming up. That'll be round 7. There were only 8 rounds, and once the 8 rounds are done, I feel very sad. I have to wait all the way until January to do it again. I enjoy it and look forward to it. I just don't think that I have anything else to talk about, and I'm sorry that this has been such a paltry week of stitching and any coherent ideas on variety show topics. But this is how this particular, I will say, 6 weeks or so has been and will be for me going into mid-July. And I hope that by later July, other than some planned travel in probably August, I probably will be a little bit more regular in my content and in my video making. I hope that whatever you're working on is fun and that you're making progress. If you're working on Hannah Green for the Stitch Along, it would be fun to know that in the comments, and I can find you on Instagram if you're posting anything there. I hope that your summer is starting off well. By now, school is out in probably most of the U.S. I'm guessing maybe it's still a week or so to go for some parts. And I hope that your summer plans will be refreshing and fun if you're traveling or just having a break or having a change in routine because kids are home from school, doing summer jobs or whatever. It's funny how even though we no longer have a child in school, the public school still rules the rhythms of our lives to a certain extent. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and many blessings to you, friends.